Hello there, Johnny Anton back here with an awesome training. I'm super excited to further this idea of sourcing capital within ourselves as a business owner, and also just being able to influence and lead people to success in our sales process as a client would want to be. All right, so in the last video, in this awesome training of sourcing capital, the first video was the big picture video. Really, what is kind of sourcing capital, and what's the overarching big picture view on scaling your business from 6 figures to 7, 8, and 9 figures. And we kind of talked a little bit about, the dynamic of your sales team and why that's important for retention, as well as being able to qualify the client and them working to be a part of the mindset and the team that you're looking to build, and how inside sales team and sourcing capital, there's a huge correlation to, if your sales team can source capital, then you can get more sales. And if you can get more sales, you can do more marketing, you can grow your brand, and you can take more risks. When you have an inside sales team, you put on events. If the events doesn't close, they don't do that well, for whatever reason, whether it's the demographic or the delivery or the pitch or whatever it may be, for some reason, you didn't get the close rates you wanted. And that's why having an inside sales team that has a strong follow-up process is really, really important. And and the biggest thing that holds people back in the end of the day is money. Whether they feel like they can afford it or they can't, it really comes down to teaching them how to look at their money, teach them how to source. And so we kind of talked about the big picture of why it's important, what kind of benefits it has to the brand, and impacting and transforming as many lives as possible. Okay, now that was just a short recap of the last video. This video moving forward here is we're going to show some more as to why sourcing capital and what sourcing capital really is and why it's so important, and then some of the nuances of doing it with integrity, doing it the right way so the client's happy, your brand remains intact with its good reputation, and it's just a good way of doing things through a compliance perspective when it comes to FTC and outside agencies looking into your company, trying to protect consumers. So I think all that stuff is really important, and it should be part of this video. And then I'm going to kind of run into what are some of the issues that you have with some clients that aren't really receptive to you asking about their money or having them go and raise capital to build their business, and how to kind of handle that through different ways, such as a qualification statement, a reassuring statement, having different tools in your tool belt to teach them, and different objections that can go through an objection handler process that I've invented that works really, really well with, just reframing their mindset, attaching their goals to the conversation, and then furthering on with the qualification process. Okay, so diving right into it, what is sourcing capital? We talked a little bit about it, teaching them how to raise capital, looking at their money differently, and kind of the whole qualification process versus the sign-up process. Okay, now qualification, you can look at it 2 ways. You can look at it as, do they qualify? Are they a prospect that truly can afford your coaching or tools and events, etc. It also, in another way to look at it, qualification is, do they have the right mindset that you're looking for? I mean, if you're a business owner and you're a business coach specifically, and you're immersively working with these people one-on-one, or your coaches are, you're going to want to make sure, obviously, that they're open-minded to different ways of thinking, and they are coachable, and they really can, change the way they think and act so that they can get exponentially different results. And that's just the whole idea of the qualification process, making them kind of shift their mindset, make them feel uncomfortable, right? So that's another thing that a lot of business owners don't want to make their clients feel uncomfortable and kind of push them into the sale. And that's understandable, but at the same time, in the end of the day, if you don't sell them, they're never going to take action on their goals. So how I see it is I don't have a problem with selling you, and I just flat out sometimes tell clients, hey, this is a sales process, but at the same time, it's a qualification process. And we want to make sure we're working with open-minded, coachable people who are really ready to take things to the next level. And if that's you, we can continue this conversation and we can really, dive deep into your goals and talk about some of the exciting ways we can really help you achieve those goals. Does that sound good? Okay, so it's just kind of like that type of process where you're, reframing their mindset, talking about their goals, and really just keeping them moving and shifting their mindset. And guess what? They're going to appreciate you more. They're going to be excited about the opportunity. It's going to make the people who are scared and fearful and aren't clear on their goals to either, play full out and get to that level, or it's going to scare them away. And quite frankly, you kind of want that filtration process, because you never want a client that's really super overly excited about your process, pays the money, and then isn't willing to do the work. I mean, that's even worse for your reputation than taking them through a stringent qualification process where, you're teaching them how to look at their money differently, you're teaching them how to, look at their goals differently in proportion to what they're investing into. And so moving on from there, why do you source, right? So it goes back to that whole mindset of serious versus curious, right? You want to separate those who are thinking the right way. You also want, clients to understand how to not only pay for the coaching versus afford the coaching. So I'm going to dive right in there. This is typically what I do in my process and how I help people source. So what I do essentially is I always have a goals conversation in the beginning. I build that rapport and I have that goals conversation. And that way you can always come back to these anchor argumentative points where you're not disagreeing with the client, but you're reframing their mindset and how they should look at their goals in relation to the return on investment. If someone tells me they want to make $100,000 and they're not willing to spend $10,000, then that doesn't really make sense. But I'm not going to sit there and argue with them and say, well, you want to make $100,000 and you're not willing to invest in 10. That's obviously going to tear down the walls of rapport and turn your conversation into I'm better than you and you're not good enough. And that's not what you want in your business. That's not what you want from your sales reps. That is not the experience you want to create for your client. And so you always want to be respectful. You always want to have that tonality where you're suggesting things and you're asking them if they're willing. You're always asking for permission, and you're just getting them to see things differently, and you agree with them in every way possible, and you kind of show them the way to think without telling them that they're thinking wrong, right? One example is setting standards, feeling uncomfortable versus comfortable. Here at Life on Fire, or here at Satori Prime, or here at any company that you represent, we are all about getting comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable is what you constantly are doing as an entrepreneur. So if we're going to work with you, we want to make sure that you're thinking and acting like successful investors. Does it make sense, Bob? Does it make sense, Susie, that successful investors think and act in a way that's very uncomfortable and constantly doing it day to day in order to get the leaps and bounds and growth in the business that they look for? And they'll say, yeah, it does make sense. That definitely does make sense. And now you've shifted their mindset a little bit. And without telling them that they're thinking the wrong way, you're telling them how successful investors think the wrong way. I mean, when you think of, Brian Tracy, you think of Donald Trump, you think of, President Clinton, you think of all these influencers that are able to shift people's mindset and get them to think a different way, or get them attracted and magnetized into them. They're always bringing up quotes. They're always quoting books. They're always bringing in these third-party references to anchor the point that they're making, so that not only you can shift your mindset, but you can act towards the picture that they're painting. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys. But you can't start talking to people about money and sourcing capital without having a deep goals conversation. And to that effect, my goals conversation usually goes focusing on time, money, and motivation. And then from there, I'll go deeper and I'll ask impactful questions like, why is that important to you? how does that affect your relationship with your family? Picture and imagine that you work with our team, right? So you're doing two things. You're doing need payoff questions, and that's a book called Spin Selling is a great book to understand this process of really just talking about problems, and then implicating that they have a problem and diving deeper into that, and then projecting the future through picture and imagine, or how would life be if you were able to accomplish X, Y, and Z? What would it mean for you if you were able to spend more time with your family? I like to have that really deep, high-level goals conversation, which I will make another video that just talks straightly about all these little elements, because they're really important and there's a lot of moving parts to be able to juggle successfully helping your clients source capital. So I will dive into some of the books that can help elevate your sales reps to a level where they're truly having these high-level conversations and they're developing a very deep connection with your brand and the client's needs. And that's when you really have a very strong rapport connection that makes these conversations that are uncomfortable about money okay. It makes them fine in the client's eyes. So you really want to have that strong goals conversation and really, kind of have a lot of need, impact, payoff questions, and just dive deeper and deeper and deeper. One question I love to ask is, what are you ultimately looking to achieve? What are you ultimately looking to achieve with a business and spirituality or love or self-love? What are you ultimately looking to achieve? What's the big picture goals that you have, right? And ask that way. When your sales reps ask that way, it evokes the same passion. I mean, people constantly mirror and mimic each other in life, just like animals do. And the beautiful thing about being in the phone is you can control the environment when speaking to clients, and you can really shift the way they think about questions by putting passion and sincerity. So, what are you ultimately looking to achieve, Bob? When you ask that way, it's going to evoke an equal and opposite reaction. Otherwise, you're going to know that they're not serious about their goals, or they're not quite sure what they're at. And then okay, well, this person needs to work on their goals more. I can't start to go into money unless they work on their goals. So maybe I need to reschedule an appointment, have them work on their goals, maybe read a couple of chapters of a book that can help them with that. And then now you're taking people through the sales cycle at different times, and you're constantly working different types of leads, people who are goals ready, people who are money ready, and then that's how you create this rolling effect of closing sales constantly week by week, and how you can really pitch to your sales guys that this is a six-figure job. As long as you can bring in multiple six figures or seven figures to the business, you can make 5 figures and 6 figures and multiple 6 figures. And the way to do it is you get these people, these clients that you really want to work with, you get them in different modes and you really read their situation and where they're at. And you take them through this process, and they appreciate you more, that you spend the extra time to really help them with their goals and set those goals. And then they think about your company differently. They're like, wow, I mean, what company out there really is going to spend a week with me helping me read books and goals, and they're not even talking to me about money or costs or anything? And that's how I was able to really do really well, at Fortune Builders or any company that I've worked for. It's because when you spend a whole lot of time, you're truly passionate over the phone, and you deliver good content, and you change their mindset around their goals and how they look at money, they're going to respect you for it. They're going to want to work with your company more, and they're going to be a raving fan when they finally qualify and get accepted by someone like Nick or Guy or any CEO or CFO or whoever's taking the calls, the closer. They're going to respect you as a company. They're going to be excited to get started, and they're going to work so much harder, in your business coaching because you did all these things. So I'll leave it at that. That's a good second video, the importance of goals conversations and some of the need payoff and problem and implications that you can state to your clients to get them to build a strong rapport and connection with you. and really see where they're at in the process before you start to talk about their money. And the next video, I'm going to truly get into diving into the money and how to talk about the money, how to ask the questions, the transition from the goals to sourcing capital.